Hi folks, thanks for joining me for this week's vlog. What you can hear in the background is the River Kennet thundering by, but I'm stood on the banks of the nearby canal because today I'm after Britain's ultimate freshwater ambush predator, the pike, or if you're in North America its close cousin, the muskie. I did try and catch these monster fish a few years back, but I was woefully unprepared. When you're trying to cast flies like these, the 10 foot for a 7 weight is just not cutting it. And when you're throwing big meaty flies to try and catch some fish that can get big, really big, then you have to up your game. So without further ado, let's get into it. The last time I went out to try and catch a pike, I was quickly discouraged because I was trying to cast an 18-inch streamer fly with a 10 foot for a 7, and I got pretty fed up with it pretty quick and wasn't long going back to the car to get my grayling kit to finish my day off. But this time, thanks to my sponsor Witchwood and Airflow, they've sent me the proper gear to tackle these big fish, and we'll be having a closer look at that outfit back in the office. Christ, it's freezing out there. I'm back in at the office to show you the kit. It just makes more sense to do this in the dry and the warm. So last time I tried pike fishing, I was woefully underprepared. I didn't have the right tackle. So this year I've been very lucky that my sponsors Witchwood have sent me one of their predator rods and one of their predator reels, and Airflow have also kindly sent me a proper line for pike fishing. So let's get these put together. Magica video, that's me got it spooled up. The reel looks fantastic. It's a 9 to 11 rated reel, so you can take up to an 11 weight line on it. I've obviously put the Airflow 9 weight on, and the rod itself, again, it looks really nice, lovely finish in a sort of matte black with green detailing. Looks really nice, and I'll probably do a full review on the rod, reel and line once I've been pike fishing several times, because you need to go a few times to get a feel for what the kit's like. So full review to come on this, but in the meantime I'm hoping Ben's going to keep me right on today's adventure. I suspect all anglers that fish rivers and large reservoirs have caught pike in the past, probably by accident as a bycatch, and I've got to admit to being a little bit terrified of them. I did catch a 15-pound pike once on a buzzer, and it never seen the boat because once I'd got it in the net, I just got my forceps, got the buzzer out, and it went straight back in. My friend said, "Oh, get it out for a photograph," and I was like, "Oh, I don't think so. Have you seen the teeth on these bad boys?" Not happening. But today I'm going to be joined by Ben Bangham, who's a professional fly fishing guide, and he's seen a massive increase in his business for pike angling. So he's invited me along today to see what it's all about and hopefully show me how to handle these fish correctly and the best ways to approach catching them. Well, I'm standing on the banks of the River Kennet with Ben Bangham. He's going to be my guide today. Ben's been guiding since he was 15-year-old, so I'm in good hands, and he's really experienced with the pike fishing. So Ben, you are going to be running a couple of courses this year, but COVID's put paid to that. At least you're allowed to do the one-to-one thing, which is a good thing. Yeah,
exactly. You know, we've got to make hay while we can. But yeah, as you say, yeah, I do a few courses on here every year. This is one of the fisheries we use.
It's a beautiful place.
It's lovely. We can lock the gate. It's private. It suits a lot of needs for the pike fly angler. And yeah, as I say, you were going to come along. It's a real shame, but it is what it is. And you know, course-wise, we're still going to do today what we did in that course, which is looking at kit, why you use it, how you use it. Hopefully, fish handling. You know?
I hope so, because I've got an abject fear of pike. I said in my intro that I'd caught one about 15 pounds at Rutland on a buzzer, but I wouldn't pick it up. It quickly got unhooked and slung back in the water. But
yeah, I mean, that is one of the biggest sticking points, I think, with people actually, you know, getting the guts up to go out pike fishing. They want to go, but the thought of something like that with teeth everywhere is, you know,
they've got rows of teeth, haven't they?
They've got lots of teeth, yeah. So I think getting over that hurdle, and we can show you how to handle a pike properly for you and for the fish, which is just as important, really, because they're delicate creatures, and you know, there aren't that many of them in rivers like this, so we need to look after them. Yeah,
well, I'm all about fish welfare, and it'll be interesting to see what your take is on, you know, caring for them and getting them back into the water as quickly as possible. So you were going to talk a little bit about the terminal tackle. Can you just tell me what you've set up with here?
Yeah, so here we've got a 10 weight fly rod with a sink tip line, and this, I use sink tips on river a lot because it means I can sort of work the fly quite nicely at a depth I want, but I can still use the floating element of the fly line to mend and to work in the current properly. If you use a full sink, you can find in a river that the current snags up, acts on your fly too much. If you get a take, you still need to be in direct contact. Any slack in the line, and you're really going to struggle to hook these things. You know, they're big huge teeth, huge mouth.
I've seen some pictures, and when I was doing my research about the day, I watched some videos of pike, and some of them are awesome. You know, the takes are amazing. But I noticed you've got a really big net on your back.
I do, yeah.
I brought my net. I take it we're sharing.
We might have to.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the terminal tackle, Ben.
Yeah, let's go do that. So we're back in the lodge, and I said that we'd look at the terminal tackle, which is leaders, flies, hooks, essentially what catches the fish for us. We'll go over the leaders first, because that's slightly more boring than the flies. I use two main types of leader, which is a fluorocarbon or a wire. Now, you'd have read a lot about fluorocarbons and wires and which is better. Let me just say this, I've been bitten off on wire and I've been bitten off on fluorocarbon, so it's sort of horses for courses. What I use as a general rule of thumb is if the water is clear, I'll use fluorocarbon. If it's not clear, I'll use a wire. Here is one of my fluorocarbon leaders. So I've got a couple of feet of 175 pound fluorocarbon that's crimped, and got a mustard fast attach clip there, which I can just easily pop flies on and off, so they go on very easily. And onto that I've got a short section of 40 pound normal mono with a big loop there, and this leader can just loop on and off very quickly, very easily. That I can use quite a few times. I mean, this has had a lot of fish. It's got a little bit of fray there, but it's not going to affect the integrity of the leader, so you can use those quite a lot. I tend to change this bit quite a lot because you know, inexperienced casters will put knots in it and things like that, but that's why it's 40 pound. You know, we need a bit of strength there to help things. So that's my sort of river clear water setup. The other one I use is a wire, and here we go. Same sort of setup. Again, this has been munched a lot, and it's exactly the same, but instead of using a fluorocarbon, I've got a wire there with your fast attach clip on there as again. Exactly the same measurements, same tough sort of mono. So very simple, and keep them in here. Now, the other thing I do use is, obviously those work really well for flies with hooks. However, some of my flies are tubes, so we have a slightly different system, and because of the tube you can't really use a fluorocarbon because you can't pass the fluorocarbon through the tube. So in this case, on the tube side of life, I pre-rig all my leaders like that, and that is a simple hook with a bit for my tails to attach onto. You don't always have to use a tail, but I do find it sort of quite nice just to always have the option of putting a tail on. Now, I used to use really big tubes, so I'd have all sorts of stingers and stuff going off them. The problem I found with the big tubes was the weight of the hooks sort of made the tubes fairly, well, the hooking potential dropped off, because what would happen is you'd strip the fly, everything would go out, which was beautiful. As soon as you pause, because I use a lot of pauses in my pike fly fishing, as soon as you pause, what would happen, the weight of the metal would drop down. So straight away that would drop, but because your fly is actually quite light, that would stay up there. So you'd essentially separate your hooks from your fly using these really big tubes. And I watched it 2 or 3 times where a fish would come up and take the fly but completely miss all the hardware. So you just have a sort of an aborted take, and I was missing fish because of it. And it wasn't until I saw it in the edge that I realised what was happening. So now my tube flies tend to be smaller, and if I'm using big flies I'll use shanks, which means that, you know, the hook's always in the tying material, so no matter where you get a take, you're in with a chance of actually hooking up. So it's definitely worth thinking about when you're doing tube flies. Just put it in the edge and watch it and see what happens. But you know, these are the sort of sizes of tube flies I use now. So relatively small, but can be extended quite easily by the use of a tail, and the hook just sort of sits in there nicely. And as you can see, these are all sort of pre-measured and pre-tied, so that the tails can just sit at the back of the fly, making it sit absolutely perfectly. You don't want the tail in the middle of all the material, because it will twist it up and sort of get snarled up, and it won't work properly. You want it just so it kind of just pops out, which is that one, which luckily does. So that's the sort of leader setups that you want to look at. You want to look at wire, and you want to look at fluorocarbon. Wire is a bit more user-friendly. Fluorocarbon isn't quite as user-friendly as wire, but it is really good stuff, and lasts a lot of fish. So that's my leader wallet with a load of leaders tied up. Flies wise, so these are the flies that we're going to use. Most of them have got some sort of joint system in them, just to add a little bit of extra movement. And these are the main ones that I use for my rivers. They're 6 or 7 inches long, as you can see, but with the addition of the tail they can go to sort of 10-12 inches quite easily. Lot of volume in them, a lot of body, not a lot of tie material, so I use a lot of reverse tie and systems like that to really push the volume of the fly out without adding weight and making the casting sort of a nightmare. So those are the small ones. I've got my tubes, which again are fairly sparsely tied. I use these if I'm fishing quick, because they work quite well, fished at pace, roly-poly, things like that. And then I've got the longer ones which incorporate multiple shanks, and these are the real big ones. You know, you can go, I mean, I've got ones that are 18 inches long, and with the addition of tails you're looking at 20 inches on some of them, which is just ridiculous, but does catch big fish and sort of looks like eels going through the water, and definitely work. But you've got to get over the sort of the mental barrier of casting something that's as big as the trout you've just caught. They do work, but yeah, hard to cast and hard to fish, but worthwhile in the long run. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different fly styles and things like that. These are the ones that I use. So we've looked at everything. Let's get Lindsay tackled up and see how we go.
Well, I've already had a bit of interest. A pike came up behind my fly, and just as it was about to close its mouth, I pulled it out too quickly with excitement. But luckily Ben had a really good fish, which we've seen there, and shortly after, it's not been 10 minutes, and Ben's come in just in above a little bridge here, and he's caught something very special for this river. So we're going to have a look at that now, and hopefully Ben will explain to us safe ways of handling the fish and returning the pike, because we're all about the fish welfare.
So, got a big smile on my face. We've caught something pretty special for a river. It's definitely a 20, and let's use this to show you how to handle a fish properly. Now, in the depths of winter, if I'm on a boat or if it's summer and the ground is dry, I'll always bring an unhooking mat with me. Today we haven't done that because most of the fishery is covered by these reeds. The ground is really soft and springy. I'm springing walking on it, so I'm happy having a fish on this sort of ground. It's not going to damage itself at all. So what we'll do is we'll lift this big girl out of the water, put her down nice and gently, show you how to hold them, show you how to unhook them, show you how to get your trophy shot and get it back in the water as quickly as we can without doing the fish any damage. So I've got the fish out, and I'm going to keep the metal rim of the net away from the fish because it's about the only thing that can do it damage right now. And I'm going to slide my fingers up underneath the gills, keeping them towards me, and I'm just going to lift her out, slide her out away from this net, get that out of the way. So I've just come astride her just to stop her kicking around. Oh, she doesn't want to give it up. The hook is actually out now. Little pug nose fish. There's the fly out. Put her back down, make sure she's okay. Don't worry, this blood's actually mine, it's not the fish's.
Is it tagged you?
Yeah, that's the last one. And here we go. So you've got to make sure you support her as much as you can. It's a big fish, I'm not going to lift her high off the ground. There you go. That is a river dinosaur. What an absolute beauty. You don't get many that size on the river.
Shut up and sit down.
here,
Yeah.
and always keep your fingers towards us. Yeah, slide them right up, slide them right up. Keep them away from the gills.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep sliding, and you'll get to a position
where I'm soaked.
Yeah, you get to a position right there, you can just...
Right, got you. Right, we ready?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow. Well, I've caught my first pike, and a double-figured one, no less. I was absolutely buzzing. I was shaking with adrenaline actually after I'd landed it and released it. A little bit apprehensive putting my hand near its mouth, but Ben kept me right. In at the gills, run your fingers up, and I'm not tagged, which is unusual because all the fish Ben's caught today, he's been tagged, and there's blood aplenty coming from his hands. But it's been a superb day on the Kennet here. We've caught 4 fish between us. To be fair, Ben's had the lion's share, and he's had some absolute stonkers. 54 pounds of pike in about 4 or 5 casts. Astonishing really when you think about it. But that's the kind of sport that you can get if you go with the right gear and you know what you're doing, and Ben certainly knows what he's doing.
So we fished most of the day now. It's winter, short sessions. Got a couple of hours of light left. Light levels are rising, which is actually probably going to play against us. But to be honest, you know, if we packed up now, who cares? We've had an amazing day. We've missed a couple. I think we've landed 4. Every single fish has been a double, which is unbelievable. And 2 river 20s, which are, you know, hen's teeth. And to have 2 in a session, 2 in sort of 4 casts is something special. Lindsay's had his first pike as well, nice double figure pike, cracking take, and yeah, I think we might have a convert over there. So let's see if we can get another one before the day's finished.
Well Ben, sadly we've come to the end of the day, and all I can say, it's been absolutely amazing. When I thought about coming to do pike fishing, I thought I'll go with Ben, he'll get a fish and I'll get a bit of footage. I never dreamed that we'd have the day we've had. It's been absolutely awesome. I mean, even you've been surprised by the number of fish we've had.
Oh, it's been spectacular. You know, nothing short of amazing, to be honest.
Yeah.
We've been lucky.
Why do you think we've done so well today?
I think it's the conditions. You know, we've just hit it lucky. We've got low pressure moving in. It's been nice and overcast. Light drizzle in the morning. The river's got a tinge of colour, but not too much. So you know, the visual aspect is still there for the pike, because they are quite a visual hunter. You could
still see the flies coming through the water, and in the afternoon, after we had a bit of lunch, Ben kindly gave me some proper flies, and I've taken that lesson away, and I'll take it back to the vice later. And the movement of your flies in the water is just awesome. Yeah, it's great to watch.
I think that's key. You know, a lot of the sort of shot bought flies are you know, very sort of static in the movement. There's not much movement there, but as you've seen with the ones we're using, they pulse, they twitch, they move. We add a tail sometimes, and they move a lot of water as well. Yeah. And I think it's absolutely key getting that big movement from the flies.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we hit the river right, Ben, and thanks very much for being my guide for the day.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Super.
Well done.
Well, what a day. I'm absolutely buzzing. I never thought that I would catch a pike, let alone pick one up and handle it. I've got to say, I was a little fearful, but Ben was really good with me. He showed me how to put my hand into the gill, run it up, to a secure position where I could pick the fish up, and I managed to get some footage of that with me holding the pike, so over the moon with that. It's been a great day. Ben's been extremely patient with all my stupid questions, and I can't recommend him highly enough. So if you fancy catching pike on the fly, tap up Ben. I'll put his details in the description so that you know where to get a hold of him, and I heartily recommend that you have a day out with him if you want to get into the pike fishing. Thanks very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you click the button. I would really appreciate your support. See you all next time.